So again, good afternoon. I'm Casey Sprague, the founder and CEO of Constructive Curiosity. So today we're going to be going through a PMaaS webinar explaining what PMaaS is, how it can help your organization, and what role it plays in the modern project management workscape. All right, so our agenda today, we're going to be going through what is PMaaS, the problems that you can encounter with the traditional project management setting, solutions that PMaaS can offer, as well as what does it look like to do an actual snapshot of a traditional PMO type position versus a director level PMaaS entity. We're going to talk through a couple case studies and then look at what the difference is from Constructive Curiosity and what we can offer you and your business. So what is project management as a service? Well, it's PMaaS. But what does that actually mean? It means that we are able to be a plug and play solution, putting a project manager in the right place for your business at the right time to meet your specific needs. So how does it actually work? PMaaS people come on without any of the distractions, overhead. They're able to bring their skills and abilities and tools and make sure that they are the right size for what you need at your company and your project. There's no hiring delays. It can be quick, efficient, and at the end of it, when it's done, everybody gets what they need and they move forward. Which brings us into what the problem with traditional project management style is. Because companies right now do not understand how to properly utilize their project managers. They think of them as a W-2 employee, which is not what really they need to be. In my opinion, and what Constructive Curiosity brings forward, is that project managers are independent workers. They're able to be self-managed, maintain their workload, get the job done right, because they have the skills to do so. So just as you would, think about a developer or another technical position, a project manager is a set of skills. They can bring it to the table and do their job very well. The problem is that doesn't always fit what a company thinks that it should. Because projects, by their nature, are temporary endeavors. They end. If they don't end, then they end up with a whole nother issue and scope creep. And we don't really need to get into budget and schedule under overruns here. But when you think about it, a project is supposed to end. So what does that mean? That means, one, either the company may be absorbing some cost while they're waiting for another project to pop up, or two, they're going to eliminate that project manager. That is terrible for the entire organization, the PM, the company culture, everybody. Why? Because PMs get plugged in. They know the HR people, they know sales, the technical team, QA, everybody is involved with that project manager or program manager. And when they just, disappear one day because the project is getting close to the end or is over and there's just no more work done, that hits a culture hard. And that's what every company should be focused on, trying to get their culture right so they can get the right people in there. So it's not a good fit. And it also, PMs is a W-2 position that limits their potential. So PMs are curious by nature. They want to get out there. They want to do the best work they can. And they're efficient. That's what you're taught in your PM training, is that you are going to be efficient at what you do and how you operate. So how can you make that happen if you're stuck in a W-2 position where you can't move forward? You're only allowed to work on one, maybe two projects, and they want you to, you got to be logging that 40 hours a week, because if you're not working 40 hours a week, you're not meeting what we expect from you. That may not happen. As PMs, we understand that 40 hours a week is not necessarily a realistic thing. It doesn't always happen. You need to be able to adapt to what your environment actually requires, and that's why the current model of how PMs are utilized, what companies think they can do, is just bad business for both the corporations and the PMs. So what is the solution? As we mentioned, we're going to keep jumping on the table. It's PMaaS. What it does is it allows everyone to do things the right way. It keeps a transparent relationship from start to finish. It's a contract. It's a project. It's going to end. Both sides understand that it's going to end. And when it ends, there's no hard feelings. You knew it was coming. It was getting to that point. But the great thing about PMaaS as well, if you want to keep that asset around and keep them moving forward and keep them plugged into future endeavors you have going on, you can absolutely do that. There is nothing holding you back from having this PMaaS resource be with your team for the remainder of the time. They can continue to move forward. They can continue to adjust on the fly. And that's a great process that you can have. So understanding what project management as a service can do, it minimizes your overhead. You don't need to hire anybody. Basically, you can work with a company to bring in the right PM, get the person that you need, right size your solution, and that brings it right to the table. and there's no long-term cost. So once the project is over, that person steps out the door. You're able to move forward without any kind of cultural issues. You're not hurting the team because you knew this person was a temporary person on your team, making it better, getting that project across the finish line. It's a flexible solution. You can scale it. You can have multiple PMs. You can bring in other portions of that offering from a company that has it. It's really just built for execution and getting things done right. So on this slide, what we're going to look at is a comparison between a PMO director in a traditional setting and a director level PMaaS asset. So as you're looking at the chart over there in the orange, it looks at the total compensation package. So it's going to be base pay, 401k, health benefits, everything that goes into what a W-2 employee gets. And that's going to come out to about a national average of $240,000 for PMO directors at various type firms, including SaaS and other software implementations. In the middle there, you're looking at a single director level PMaaS asset, $12,000 a month, so about $144,000 a year. And that's going to be for 80 hours a month. And if you're thinking 80 hours, that doesn't sound like it's going to be enough. It should be. PMaaS assets come in, they're efficient, they work well, they get stuff done. They're not bogged down by going to admin meetings. They're not getting bogged down by having issues for internal things that they need to handle. They're going to be very focused on the project. And then if you look over there at the gray column, what that is demonstrating to you is a two-team PMaaS approach where you have a director level PM coming in with a junior level PM. So you're actually getting two assets that can do the work, 120 hours a month for less than the cost that it would cost you for one PMO director. And another great thing about PMaaS, there is no PTO on your side that you have to be concerned about. If you work with the right company, what you're going to have is when the PM goes on, some kind of leave and they have an absence that they're not going to be available for an extended period of time, another PM is going to be slotted in there. So you're going to have no loss in continuity. You're going to keep being able to drive forward, and it's not going to have any issues for you because that company that you've partnered with is responsible for giving you another PM to keep your implementation moving forward. So like we've mentioned before, it's a no benefits issue. You don't have to worry about hiring, onboarding, what happens when the person walks away, if you lose everything. It's not going to happen when you're partnered with a PMaaS partner. They're going to give you everything you need. You get the knowledge at the end. You get all of the abilities that have been developed, and you can keep on moving forward. So if you want to hear more, we actually have some case studies that we can bring up and talk about. So the first one's going to focus on an early stage SaaS startup. So a company is struggling to onboard new clients to their software and is struggling to roll out releases on schedule. This probably sounds familiar to a lot of us who have worked in software, especially in small to growing companies. It can be very painful to overcome these types of challenges. And if you're at a portion of your growth development where you really can't afford to hire a senior PM that's a big expert, you're going to have to try to get creative with it. So currently what the company decided to do is they hired a junior level PM as an FT at about $75K a year. The problem with hiring a junior level PM is you don't know exactly what you're going to get. Is this a mid-career transfer? Is this somebody straight out of college? Is it somebody who's not really worked in this industry, but they've worked in others before, so they have some good project management knowledge, but they may not be able to actually adapt to what you specifically need. And that's a risk that you take when you hire people. The resume may say one thing, but I got a little bit of experience in doing software. That could mean anything from, I've clicked on software before, so I understand how it works, or no, I've done full implementations. It's very hard to gauge that. And trying to pull that out of interview processes and get everyone on the same page can be extremely painful. And you never understand. You really don't know what you have until you have them on the project, getting them moving forward and making sure that they're the right fit from your normal internal hiring processes. So what this group found out was that the PM was not as experienced as they had let on. They didn't understand industry standard tools, and this was really hindering the anticipated progress for the project. And what happens when things start to slow down? Leadership gets nervous. And in this case, the CTO came down and started spending way too much time on tactical level tasks, being embedded into the project implementation, trying to figure out how to move things forward. And that was taking away from the job that a CTO should actually be doing, which is driving the vision, making sure all the technology services and everything are moving in the right direction, your product's ready to go, and everything's moving as it should. So what is the PMaaS solution to this one? It's simple. 15 hours a week from a senior PM for 6 months. That'd be a $45,000 cost. So as opposed to paying that $75,000 for a year, you could bring in a senior level person, and what they're going to be able to do is bring in those plans, bring that experience to the table, get real-time tracking through a software like SpecC. And then that junior level PM is going to get trained up to where they can take back over the project and be ready to go. So your good results there, like I said, your CTO is going to get time back. You're going to get your projects and releases back on track. You're going to make sure that the team retains all the knowledge at the end, because this PM that came in for a 6-month contract understands this is going to end. And it is their responsibility to hand over all the knowledge, lessons learned, and any other artifacts that they may have developed belong to the client. So you get to keep all of that, know what you have, and you've gained all that knowledge and experience and training for the junior PM to know how to do their job better. So you can also keep that PM. So if you're like, wow, we really like this person, we want to keep them on a retainer, keep them come back every month, help us to continue to improve how we execute and operate. That's absolutely available to be done too if you prefer a month-to-month type of package. So PMaaS comes in, they get things done quickly and for a fraction of the cost. So looking at case study 2, this is going to be a growth stage tech company. So they're a business-to-business tech company, and they're undermanned is basically in a nutshell here. So you have one full-time PM trying to manage 75 internal users with 4 active client projects. That's a lot. It's going to be a lot for that one PM to try to take on, a lot of focus. The company's trying to grow, which is great, but if you don't have the right people in place, you're not going to be able to grow. So their current situation, they're running into a hiring delay. It's been 6 to 8 weeks, and the process is stalled. While this might sound a little bit extreme, it's actually very realistic. This comes from a real-life example that I've had in a previous position as a PMO manager, where we had 2 internal PMs move forward in the company with another part and take on great new roles. But trying to backfill when we had those losses, we could not find the right people. And this was our dedicated HR department going through, trying to recruit, working with recruiters, looking at all the resumes, and the people didn't quite fit. We had a couple candidates come in, but they weren't quite right for what we were looking for. And so 2 months later, we're still looking for a PM. What has happened in the meantime? That project is we're getting it done with people who are already overextended. We're trying to use people who had a full project load to begin with and pull them in additional overtime, getting them working harder, which stresses the team. So in this particular case, though, you only have one PM, they can't pass it off to anybody else. They are stuck in the stress day in, day out, 4 different client projects. That could be 4 different teams who are asking the PM for guidance, asking them for assistance, saying they need help. They need to get things the right way. They need to communicate with leadership. They need to communicate this to a client. The bandwidth just runs out at some point. So what really needs to happen here, in our opinion, is a PMaaS team. So you have a lot of stress going on. So not just one PM is your solution here. So bring in one senior PM and one junior PM and bring them in within 5 days of contract signing. It's quick, easy. They understand exactly what the situation is. They're going to get up to speed fast because they're professionals. They've been vetted and they know how to operate. So what happens once they get on site? They're going to be able to balance that workload. Someone can work on the internal users. Someone else can be helping to focus on the client projects that are going on. And you have a senior person who has handled these types of situations before, coming in with that knowledge and experience that they can get the job done right. So it's a seamless project handoff once everything's back up and running, and there's going to be 0 knowledge loss. So PMaaS, it delivered what this company is going to need because it gives them a plug-and-play solution where they don't have to worry about a long hiring issue, and they can get the job done right. So we've been alluding to a project management as a service company. Well, that's what Constructive Curiosity is. We bring the right size solutions to ensure that all of our clients have the success that they desire. How do we do that? So we have a very specific process that we run through, which is over here, our steps to success. So we want to discover what our client actually needs. There is no one-size-fits-all solution. It needs to be tailored to what a client needs, what their actual demands are, and what we can do to ease all of their issues. So the way we do this is once we've decided that a client wants to move forward with us, we bring out a list of our PMs that we think would be the best fit. So as you look here, this is a baseball card for our PMs, as I like to call it, or a PM scorecard, either way you want to put it. It works for us. But it is the project manager profile. So basically, this is Anissa Malik. She is one of our actual PMs that we have, a senior PM. She does a fantastic job. And what you can see from this card is what her certifications are. PMP, CSM, ITIL4. Career highlights. How long has she worked? What has she worked in? Any special stuff on there, like a secret clearance. Location. Is this PM's time zone going to work for your team? If you really want somebody in Central Time Zone or Pacific Time, or if you're in India, you want somebody that's closer to that, we can figure that out and find you the right person. And then also industry experience. What industries have they worked in? because a PM who's done a lot in the furniture manufacturing industry might not be the right fit for somebody who's trying to get done with the software implementation. So finding the right PMaaS resource is just as important as finding, the right tools that go along with it, which brings us to our next portion. Once you've selected your PM, then you're going to determine what other assets from Constructive Curiosity you need. So Spec-C, I mentioned that a little bit earlier. That is our in-house project and release management software that we're actually going to have up and running here very quickly. So if anybody's interested in being a beta tester, we'll send out a message after this presentation, and you can join our beta test list and get ready to give us all the feedback you can. But it is the revolutionizing project and release management software. So be on the lookout for Spec-C. But in addition to Spec-C, we also have a PMO library. This can be right-sized if you only need certain portions of it. We can price that out and get you what you need here. But we can also do a full PMO implementation for you. You can take all of our artifacts, everything that we have, and make it into your PMO library and be able to adapt that for every project use you have. Additionally, a Spragile implementation is another tool that you could have. So if you need a team that's going to be able to come in and execute your projects for you, we use our Spragile implementation methodology and get it done right. Lastly, we're going to finalize the agreement. We're going to execute the plan to make sure that every client project we take on is a success at the highest level. All right, so this is the Spragile difference. What is Spragile? Yes, it's a fun play on my name if you couldn't pick that one up yet, but it's actually deeply rooted in my military past and what we truly hold what we really hold dear here at Constructive Curiosity. So backwards planning is a huge thing for any other veterans in the audience that remember that. You have to start with the end in mind. And what we mean by that is, what is the goal you're trying to achieve? What does success look like? And how can you bring that to reality? So here at Constructive Curiosity with Spragile, we're going to identify that goal and start working backwards so we can identify issues that could come up. Things that may have been unknown can get uncovered when you start from the end and start figuring out how to get back to the beginning. So that's the strategize portion of Spragile. You have to identify what your end goal is and work backwards in order to achieve it. And then you have to prioritize. So in the prioritize phase, we do planning a little bit differently. So a lot of companies would like to get out there and say, yes, absolutely, this is our very aggressive timeline. We're going to make this happen for you because we can do anything. We're honest. We know things happen. Murphy's Law is a real thing, and it can cause catastrophic problems no matter what kind of project you're running on. So we like to take a planning step of stop and think, if the worst case scenario happened and the least experienced person on the team had to do the majority of the work, what would that timeline look like? How would that actually affect the implementation? And then we go to a probability matrix and think about, okay, so this would be the worst possible timeline. What's the probability of that happening? And then we can come up with a realistic approach to how long the project or implementation is going to take, how quickly can we get everything done, and what are going to be the roadblocks that we most anticipate happening. And then we can realize the implementation. So basically that's going to be executing fast because we've already identified most of the issues that could happen. We're going to learn on the fly. We can adjust and adapt because we have creative thinkers who are innovators. You're not bringing in somebody that's junior on this. We have senior PMs who have a lot of experience, and they're going to be ready to execute immediately. And then finally, we are deeply rooted in Agile. We're iterative. We're outcome driven. And we want to make sure that we are continuously delivering value. You're going to see value through our sprints. You're going to know how it operates. And there's going to be continuous communication between the client and us. So if you'd like to get started, we're going to send out a follow-up right after this where you can actually get in touch with us and make an appointment on our calendar. We're very excited to get to meet as many of you as possible. And then that's pretty much going to wrap us up for today. So to stay connected with us, you can reach out to us by phone. That is our website, email, but our best place is to look us up on our socials, and you'll constantly be getting the latest updates. And thank you all for coming today.